You are listening to the Baobab Project. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us under the Baobab tree from wherever you are in the world today. We are joining you from Halifax, Nova Scotia. We've got so much to explore, from culture to lifestyle to health, relationships, education, and so much more. Now over to our podcast host for today.
Welcome to this podcast project. We are under the Baobab tree, and for this podcast, we will be speaking with some of the lovely advisors that work on the MSVU campus. I just want to say we don't have all of the advisors here, but I think that we do have a good cross-section. And this podcast is really just a conversation to get to know the persons behind the title, what their roles entail, and really what is an advisor? What do you do? And yeah, so we will get into it. This is a question really for everyone, so jump in. Why did you choose this role? Or did this role choose you?
I'm just going to break the ice and start it off. My name is Randy Headley, and I am the Black Student Advisor. And I know my other colleagues will introduce themselves as we move forward as well. I think it's partially the role chose me and I chose the role. Moreover, I chose the role because of my previous experience as a student. I remember in my first undergraduate degree in Guyana, I never had to worry about Black student support because we're predominantly Black students at that university, and as such, all the supports that were offered were for Black students. Coming to this context in my second degree, although, and I often say I was popular, I think I might be tooting my own horn here. But I played varsity sports. I was president of the International Student Society. I was involved in several other groups, which I can't remember them all right now. But in spite of all of that, I still struggle to find my way on campus, to understand what some of the services meant, to integrate into the community, into the society. So I think with that difficulty, it really did affect how I interacted with the kinds of supports that were available to me on campus. And yes, MSVU has loads of supports on campus. We're just a small sample of advisors here. And with that, I did not utilize the many supports that we've had. I did utilize academic advising. And so I chose this role, after all, because I wanted the next generation of students to have a different experience than the one I've had. Again, the position probably chose me, but and I could say some parts of it, I chose this role based on my experience.
Thank you. Kate. You did jump in there for a bit. Why did you choose this role, or did this role choose you?
Yes, so I'm Kay Balita, International Student Advisor at the Mount. I believe, or at least I think, I developed into this role. I don't think that I chose this role per se, nor did this role really choose me. I think I was one of those right place, right time, did what I needed to do to develop myself personally and professionally, and eventually just got good in what I did. So, I stayed. I loved everything about it, and so I continue to do my best and adapt to what I need to be as an advisor, and so I am still here, happily.
Yeah.
I'll jump in on that one. This is Jessica Ferguson. I'm an academic advisor in the Center for Academic Advising and Student Success. I feel like, in a way, this role chose me, but I also chose it. When I first started, I came here as a temp, and it was not necessarily my intention to stay, but previous to this position, I had actually been working in a prison, and my goal there was to help and it wasn't something that I was really able to do well there. So coming to the Mount, I actually was able to kind of realize that goal, because the position ended up being very closely related to helping people. So initially I started off in the Dean's office working with academic advising. We did advising in the Dean's office for a while. It was Heather and Aaron and I over there with the Deans. And eventually, you know, we decided to open the Center for Academic Advising and Student Success, and it just seemed like a natural progression. So in this job, you know, I'm able to do everything that I want to do by helping people, just kind of in a different capacity than I'd intended when I started out my career. So I feel like in a way it chose me, but I also chose it. So perfect blend of divine intervention.
That's
Awesome.
awesome. That's what it sounds like for at least the three folks we've heard from so far. And so this next question is also still for everyone. You're welcome to jump in. What does your role as advisor entail? You can approach this from a day, or just the typical run of a day, or a week, or a month, or a year. But really, what does your role as advisor entail?
It's a loaded question.
I know.
And when you started saying you could do it by day per year, my mind just went, well, what is the best way to do this? I guess I'll start, and I'm still not sure how to best answer this question. As an international student advisor, I think it's such a big picture job, because so many things are intersecting with each other, and so many things are connected with each other. So it's not just about focusing on what the student is asking you at that moment in time. It is also my job to kind of zoom out and see, okay, the student has a question or an issue about this topic, but how does this relate to other aspects of their lives? Because I can say that most of them that do not know that other things are affected by their one choice. So my advising is not just to answer the question for that specific situation or that moment in time, but to also make them understand how all of these things affect their lives, and so they can make a better decision or even ask for further questions, because that might be their only concern, but because they did not know how related it is to other things, then they weren't able to think of other questions that they actually have. So my role as an advisor is really to make students understand the full concept of what it means to be an international student in Canada at the Mount, and also how we can support each other so that if they want to stay here in the future, then we are doing the necessary steps or following the best decisions to get them to their future goal.
Lots of big picture advising there with your role. It's almost not completely like fortune telling, but definitely laying out the road ahead for your students when they, even if they have a quick question.
Yeah, it's not one step
It's
at
never
a time.
a quick question.
Also, never a quick question.
Anyone else want to jump in on that? What does your role as advisor entail?
You might have to call us up.
I might have to, it seems so.
Yeah.
Heather, you're always booked solid with appointments.
I am booked solid. Yes, I'm Heather Maxwell, and I'm an academic advisor in the Center for Academic Advising and Student Success. And I've been here for 20 years at the Mount in this role. I know, 20 years. It was 20 years in January. And my role has changed over the years, but the main part of my job is still the same. And like Alexia said, we could go day by day or big picture, month by month, and we do go through different phases in different parts of the year. And at the moment, what we're doing is preparing for our new students to come to campus in another week or so, and we're going to start, that's the beginning of the new group that comes in, and we'll take them through the process of choosing their courses and picking out and registering for their courses for next year. And then that's just the beginning, and then we'll follow them throughout their university program, and it could be 4 years. If they could take a break, we could see the same students for 10 years. It could be just recurring appointments over the years, and we go through all the different phases of university career with the students, and that could be just the basic course selection and program planning. It can be talking about their grades if they're struggling in their courses, and connecting the students with supports and services on campus. It could be changing programs, talking about their future after the Mount. What do they want to do when they're finished their degree, or they want to come back to the Mount and continue on into another program and find a career. And there's so many different things that we do in our academic advising role that's not just picking out their courses or putting their schedule together. It's so much more than that. And often we find ourselves in positions where students are confiding in us with their personal struggles and challenges that they're dealing with. And we're not equipped, obviously, to to counsel them, but we listen and we can sympathize with them and give them some guidance in, what to do and who to contact and how we can help them be successful in their courses and their program and obviously in life. It's just another step in that whole process. So even though advisor is, sounds like, oh, we're just advising them, but it's so much more than just an academic advisor. I feel like I feel like sometimes they become part of our family. Like we know these students, and we don't just know their program. We know more about these students than a lot of people do. And so it's a really important role on campus, and I hope the students realize that we value our role, and we really enjoy the contact we have with students and what role we can play in their lives in a positive way.
Yeah, if I may just jump in, and just for the audience, I just want to recognize that I'm the only male in this room and on this panel, so I need not mention my name over and over, because I'll have a deeper voice than the rest of my panelists. I hope.
I might throw you off next time.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so I often have to remind myself of what my role entails, because I'm often called upon by faculty, staff, external stakeholders for advising, for supports. And one of the things that I said to one of our faculty members, a staff member first, before I said this to a faculty member, is that I asked them to first recognize what my role was by calling out my title. And they said, yeah, Black Student Support, Black Student Advisor, to offer Black student support. And then I said that my first task is to support Black students, and then faculty member, then staff, or then whomever else. So as such, if the president calls on me for a meeting and a student shows up at my door, the president, the student takes priority, because my role is to serve that student first. And I think I take my role very serious. In fact, I have done that in the past, where I've had meetings booked and a student showed up in a crisis situation, and I dealt with the student. And I think with that, what it does, it allows students to know that there's someone there for them at all times. So it's getting to that point where when I don't see students showing up, I no longer worry that they're not using the service. Because when I asked a student once, why don't you visit the office? And they said, oh, I know you're there. And I know no matter what, I can always show up and get the help that I need. So it then leaves this confidence in me that I know that the students are aware of what I'm doing. I know that they are aware that the work I'm doing might be in the background, but it is affecting them eventually. And I know that they are aware that I have their interest at heart, based on several factors, which I'll get an opportunity to list a little bit later.
So it sounds like from academic advising to international student advising, and even advising, designated for Black students, it sounds like there are a lot of moving pieces in even the one title of, whatever advisor. So with all of those moving pieces and so much even in an appointment looking to the future in a lot of ways of, helping the student achieve a goal or get over, a particular issue, how do you work towards being a good advisor?
That's a great question, Alexia. I want to jump in here. So it's Erin Tomlinson, the manager of the Center for Academic Advising and Student Success. And I would say that our team is very active in engaging in professional development opportunities when they arise. So we're a part of regional and national organizations. Caucus and AUKUS are the abbreviated names for those organizations. And they offer things like webinars, opportunity conferences where you can, take in different sessions related to academic advising, and talk with colleagues from across the country and across the Atlantic Canadian provinces. So it provides a really great opportunity to think about advising in different ways and to develop, and and we also talk amongst ourselves here at the Mount. We collaborate, all of the advisors in this room collaborate really closely with one another, and that also helps develop our practice. So I think we each have our own unique styles of advising, but ultimately, we're always engaged, whether it's informally or formally, in developing our practice.
Yeah, great point, Erin. So this is Kay from the International Center. I am very happy to be working in an educational institution because of the fact that we are continuously educating ourselves. Mm-hmm. So this is not a for-profit business wherein, okay, what's the bottom line? Did you produce enough? No, it's about not just the students' overall journey, but also the staff, faculty, or employees' journey towards their professional goals, development, and growth in general. So yes, we do have to attend a lot of professional development sessions. In my role specifically, to maintain my immigration license, I am required to attend several professional development opportunities and also be engaged within the Canadian international education, to connect not just with my colleagues from Halifax, but also across Canada. So there are many ways that we do strive to be the advisor we want to be, or at least we hope our students, want us to be. But yeah, just really happy that education is a priority in our industry.
Mm-hmm. You said something interesting there about, what the students may want you to be as an advisor. And I think that actually leads quite nicely into the next question here. What do you estimate, or what do you think are the expectations of a student coming for advising? If you had to guess what's going through their mind, then they book an appointment. What do you think they're expecting?
Well, I think students want results, and I think, and I'm speaking from the Black Student Support Office perspective. I had mentioned earlier that they would come oftentimes when there's a case of crisis, and this is not the case for all students. There are some students who will just show up with gifts. They would bring stuff from their home countries, they would show up and say, "Hey, I just came to check on you. Your office is so isolated. I want to make sure you're still there." Which I appreciate. And some show up to, yeah, I know. Some show up to have tea or coffee. So, but the students who are showing up for support or advice, I think they want results. And I can't tell you how many times they show up with hesitancy in their voice and in their ask. A student will say, "I know you can't do anything about this, but this is my situation. What can you do about it?" Right?
Let me just reframe that.
So, you know, I know what they want because I've been there, right? I was a student. I understand that you know that you're not going to get the moon, but you're not sure if you should hit for the clouds or whatever. So you're just asking these open-ended questions with the hope that something will happen. What I prescribe, though, is that I often would ensure that students leave with options, no matter what the questions are. It is the fact that they will leave with options to make that final decision on their own. The options usually range from possibility to impossibility and something in between. And that student will then often say, "So which one do I choose?" And I said, "Sleep on it," or think about it, or "That's up to you." That's the simplest question. But I think to answer that question is they want results, and it would be to our detriment or a shame on us if we gave them an exact, in my case, an exact answer and say, "Here you go." I think in my role, it is not necessarily to prepare them for now, but to also focus on what your next steps are. Or the next time you ask this question, you should not ask it this way. Don't ask me how I can get a scholarship, because I can tell you how. I won't tell you why you didn't get a scholarship. Right, so I try to advise students to focus on narrowing in to what specifically their needs are, to help facilitate the process when I'm helping them as well.
So I'm Cindy Hewlin, and I am the transfer student coordinator, specifically for 2+2 programs. And so my situation is a little bit different because most of the students that I'm advising are coming from a community college environment where all of their academic advising has been basically provided for them. They're basically told the program that they are going to follow for the 2 years that they're doing it. So when they come to the university, they're already coming with 2 years worth of transfer credits, and so we have to be very specific on the requirements that they need in order to complete their degree. And so most of them probably initially are caught off guard when they can choose an arts and science elective. They don't know what that really is, and they're not really sure when they're given the choice what they should choose. And so, you know, it's my role to sort of give them some options and some suggestions and provide them with a little bit of direction in that regard.
Yeah.
This choice thing is very funny because I don't know, I feel like all of us can agree that giving students the choice is really for their own benefit, but students do not want to leave my office while there are options. They need a lockdown answer. Like, I came here and I just need you to tell me, what do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Just pick something.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'll take it.
And
I trust you. We're good.
And that's what I said,
Options
right?
in life.
Yeah.
Like, do I get an iPhone 12 or do I get an iPhone 14?
Google Pixel. No iPhone.
scores.
Is that
Will go.
There's just so many choices in it. That's overwhelming too. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
better to only, do I take A or B? But when you give me A, B, C, and D, I don't know which one to do.
Yeah, I think for me, it's many times it's to show the student that there are many options, and you really do need to get those wheels turning to think of some of these options. And I remember I had a student in my office, and she presented the situation, and I say, so what are you going to do about it? And so she was like, I don't have a choice. I don't know what to do. And I said, well, can't you think of one thing? If you gave me one, I'll give you two. And so that then opened up her eyes. Okay, there's more than one option available. There's not only yes or no, right? And so then she presented, I think, about 2 or so options at that meeting, which then I think allowed me to, in the end, to let her know that when you're coming to an advisor, you must know what you want. You must know what you'd like to accomplish in the end. And I think this is similar for academic advising. I often tell students, we are advisors. You don't come for us to solve your issues. You come for advice. Here are my issues. What do you think? And then we need to say, oh yeah. But if you say, here are my issues, we need to say, well, here are solutions. What do you think? And if that's the option you'll present to us. If a student comes to me with options and say, here are my issues, here is my issue, here are the options I have, what do you think? I'll advise.
Well, I think that was great, because I'll ask you this question, Randy. What do you expect from the students when they make the appointment? You want them to be prepared to have some decisions to make, either during or after the appointment?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I am in this position where I meet, and well, we all do, but I'm in this position where I meet students who interact with just about everyone on campus, and they're coming to me for a cultural perspective on how to approach the situations. I'll take, again, I share the instance of students seeking academic advising after meeting with me. I would often say, what do you want when you go to an academic advisor? What do you want to walk out of that room with? Because an academic advisor, technically, if you go to them and say, I'm in my first year, I'm going to register next semester, then based on numbers, if you only give them that much information, based on the number of students they see, they should have a set form and say, well, here you go, take these courses. But that might not fit into your life. That might not fit into your budget or anything of that sort. So when a student approaches my office for advice, I often would ask some of the most intricate questions to provide options for them. And what I often use is a holistic approach to support students in that. As another example, a student came to me who was sent by a faculty member because the university was ready to put her out of the program. And in the Bachelor of Education, you know, she's already so far into the program and could not complete a final course or a requirement. And she was ready to give up, right, because she didn't see any way out. And then I later learned that there's so many issues happening at home, so many things happening at home, that this young lady could have just mentioned that to her academic advisor. And when I brought that to the advisor was like, really, why didn't you tell me? You know, we are compassionate people. You know, we understand that there's life and death and hard times and good times. So, you know, you need to share these things with an advisor to get the best results.
That's actually a good point in terms of, like you mentioned, the advisor saying, why didn't you tell me? We are real people. And I think that, once again, you're giving me all the best segues, so thank you. I will take this opportunity to remind our listeners that we are under the Baobab tree, and this is the podcast title is this where I get advising? Get to know your advisor. And really, the next few, and really, I guess the last few questions are where we're moving into, is the really get to know your advisor. So, are you real people? Are you just figments of imagination? Do you live here on 166 Bedford Highway?
robots.
And the story I'll give to this actually is when I was in primary school, there was a Saturday, me and my mom, we went to the grocery store, and I saw one of my teachers, and I was like, you have to eat. You get your food from the store like everyone else. And I don't know, I must have been like 7 or 8. So it was my first time seeing, my teacher not in the classroom, And I was like, wow, she's a real person. And sometimes we do forget that even in the relationships or the interactions we have either on campus or we go to the grocery store and we only ever see that one person there all the time, and then you see them somewhere else, and you're kind of shocked for a minute that, oh, you're not where I always see you. So that's really where we're moving into, is just trying to figure out what you folks do on the weekend. Do you have weekends? So just that. What does personal life look like for an advisor? Yeah, what do you do on the weekend?
Come on, Heather, don't tell the truth. Let's give a good version.
And what's the fun version or this is my life version?
All of the above.
Oh, wow. What I want to be doing, or no one's gonna know. Okay, well, one version is cooking, cleaning, and spending time with my family and my friends, which is real life.
Nice.
Not that I don't enjoy that, but I want to travel and spend more time outside, and I don't know, it's
Outside Canada or just
outside and outside Canada. Looking at the weather forecast for this weekend. No, you're saying it outside. Yeah. But
It's probably hard to remember. It's been 2 years of COVID.
Right.
And so life looks different than what it did even 2 years ago.
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what I try not to do is take my work at home. It doesn't
How
work.
does that work out exactly?
It doesn't work, right? But I think this work that I do, and I almost called it a job. I'm so passionate about the work that I do that it has become a part of my life, and I don't necessarily see it as work. I see it as building a community, and it has to be that for my type of work, because during the regular work days I would interact with students and Mount community, but then I have to take that opportunity to build relationship with the African Nova Scotian communities, for instance, because there is where our students are coming from, and this group of students that we're dealing with, African Nova Scotian students, you do have to, let me just correct that, students of African ancestry, relationship building is a key part of the work that we would do within the community. And I don't take that for granted because I'm of African descent, that I can just meet with someone and automatically they will open up and tell me whatever it is I'd like to hear. So on the weekends, I have meetings still, not necessarily work related, just community based and those kinds of things. What I love to do though is when I get home, put down the research, put down all of the academic work, and participate in the lives and the rearing of my children. I use that word rearing these days. I'm not that old. I'm only 20. But and then I think what happens most often is I have this book that says my philosophy in life is work, and my two sons, they're like, Daddy, you're always working. But in that work, they reap so much from it. They are able to see a working black man, and I'll use black from this perspective because in the society at large, they don't often get to see men of African descent in various positions or participating in certain activities and events and those kinds of things. So I'm very happy to be doing these kinds of things, although it seems like overwork many times. Also, I work really hard to create this community spirit wherever I go. We are known within our community and on our streets for so many things. The best garden on the street, the folks that comes. Oh yeah.
I gotta see photos. That is actually true. I can confirm that.
The folks that are always working on their house. The folks who will be willing to go and shovel people's snow and all those kinds of things. And so we're known for that. But for one of the things I love to do is on Saturday is just drop all of the work when everything else is done, whenever that happens, and just build, and just tear down some plastic shelf that we might have bought while we were students and just rebuild in that same design but using hardwood or something of that sort.
Wow.
Or just creating new stuff. I would just be coming home one day and I'll see some wood on the side of the street that someone threw out and I'll be like, no, not good for the environment. I'll take that home and I will build something really fancy. Right? So those are some of the things that I do, and so if you really want to know if I'm a person, yeah,
No.
I am.
It sounds like Randy is still very much a machine at this point.
You're like a transformer.
It's what it sounds like to me.
You just become something depending on what it is.
Exactly. So
Everybody knows your name.
right, absolutely. So I'd like a more, a less robotic person. Who let me know what you do on the weekends. I think quite a few of you here have dogs. What does that time on the weekend look like when you have your fur babies? You got all that time on the weekend.
Yes, well, I have a very large dog that is very lazy. So she's a Newfoundland dog, and she's about 150 pounds. And so we do go on some walks, but they're not very long. But on the weekend, and this is Erin talking. On the weekend, I enjoy. Well, in the summertime, I play softball on Sunday nights in a women's league in Dartmouth.
Nice.
And I play in the outfield, and before I got bad knees, I used to be a catcher, so that's something that people may not know about me, and I've been involved in softball for most of my life, since I can remember, since being old enough to learn how to catch a ball. And I used to be really good, but I'm old now.
I'm sure your competitive spirit does not allow you to be anything less than stellar.
So that's a lot of fun in the summertime. And I've also recently, with my partner, we've taken up disc golfing, which is also a fun way to get outside. There are these like baskets that are set up all over. It's usually in a park or in a wooded area, and it follows the same concept as golf, but you're using discs that have different distances that they fly. So you have a driver, a mid-range, and a putter, and your aim is to get the disc in the basket. So it is really fun. And aside from that, just the family time that Heather mentioned is really important, and I like to watch some good Netflix or Amazon Prime or things like that. Listen to music. All of those things to unwind. Mm-hmm.
Cindy has a number of hobbies, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is wonderful.
Yeah, we're going to close this section off with you, Cindy. What do you like to do on the weekend? So all of your clothes for the week?
Well, I have a dog, and I walk my dog. He does like to walk a little bit longer than
Than Katie, yeah.
Katie does, yes. He's one of my. He's also my sewing companion in the sewing room, because that's the other hobby that I do. I do love to create, not from wood, from fabric, and I'm not as the environment is very important, but I do tend to still make waste with fabric scraps because I'm cutting stuff out. But I make most of my own clothes, and so that can also
amazing.
It allows you to kind of decompress, especially when it's busy times, because I can lose myself in my space and not be thinking about all of the other things that are going on.
Yeah.
Although I need to figure out how to get somebody else to clean the house.
I'll do it. I'll do it at my house all weekends.
So after you all have these lovely weekends and it's Sunday night, what about your role encourages you or inspires you to come back and take on another week?
The students, absolutely, 110%.
You never asked us if we were inspired to come back.
Yeah, I did. What encourages you or inspires you to come back?
Hey, we're having too much fun here. I think, it's always been fun sitting under the baobab tree, but, it's just this one time not having to do this on Teams where we have to mute everyone. It's so much more fun to hear the laughter that can really come out of this. I think sometimes, and I'll tell the absolute truth, sometimes the house is so crowded with all kinds of things happening, you just wait for Monday to say, I need to get back to work. I might have relaxation in the office.
Work is better than home. Wow.
I hope my wife isn't listening.
And you have a lot of kids, right?
Well, I think.
Those rearing children.
Yeah.
I think it's just that. But
Not very inspiring then.
well, I just shared the not inspiring ones. Let me share. I do it for the students.
Thank you.
I love my colleagues, so.
Yeah, colleagues too.
Yeah, that too. I forgot you guys.
Yeah, wow, thanks.
Love my students. Regardless of the situation, they always find me. So whether I'm in the office or not,
Or in the
shopping,
mall.
they say hi to me. A grocery, can I just ask you a question? Not really, but okay. Anyway, it's for, I love the place I work in. The school is great. I love my colleagues. My students are.
I get a lot of satisfaction out of the helping. Like, so many students that we meet with come in and are confused or, need help with something. And I enjoy being able to give them the tools to either help themselves or, help navigate everything. So that's what inspires me to come in every day. And I love meeting people and talking to people and getting to know students kind of beyond their role as a student, like chatting about what interests them, what they want to do in the future, things like that. So that's what really inspires me to come in every day.
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm. So as we wrap up our time here under the baobab tree, does anyone have any parting words of wisdom for our listeners, academic or otherwise?
Well, I just want to ask you a question. I mean, the title is this where I get advice in? I think that question, that the title alone it's probably something that is geared to you.
Yes.
Right? Just because what we, from my perspective, students, and I'll speak on behalf of academic advising, although I don't have the right to do so. I'll do it anyway. The advisors would not potentially not have that opportunity to get that question. So, how do you, when you encounter these kinds of questions, and how do you deal with the students that you would encounter?
Sure. If a student were to ask me, is this where I get academic advising? I say, sure. I would say, what program are you in and what year are you in? And then we take it from there, and we actually see if it's our center or if we collaborate with our colleagues on campus.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times there's so much overlap. I'm sure I joke, but I say that a job requirement for the administrative assistant in the Center for Academic Advising and Student Success would be to know where the seat in annex is to send students to K. Because at least once a week, someone's like, oh, I have an appointment with Kay Belite. Where is she? I'm like, she's not even in this building. But yeah, so really, that question, is this where I get academic advising? It's yes, and it's more than a yes, because sometimes it's us directly, and sometimes it's not. But I think just really the focus on that advising, as the center is really that, the center for the campus in a lot of ways in terms of getting a good direction on where you're meant to go, like where's Everest is, where's the library. So yeah, it's any and everything, I would say, with that question and what that really means. Similar to the work that you all do, one question is hardly ever, one answer. It's really a lot of different things.
So what I'm hearing here, and I feel the same sentiments as well, is that when a student come to us, if they tell us what they want as a bigger picture and as an end game, it's not being rude or anything of that sort, right? For me, it's not rude. If a student comes and says, "This is my problem. Here is my problem. Here is what I'd like to have in the end. Can you help me?" I would help that student smack on, because they know what the problem is. That's start, because I know that there are students who show up and don't even know what the problem is, and they know what they'd like to have in the end. That's excellent, because I know I have something to work towards, right? I think in advising, that is key for me, being able to fill in those little blank spaces to help that student along the journey, so that not necessarily when they leave my office, but when they leave the university, they are better equipped to deal with life's situation. And I think it will make us so much proud to hear on the news one day a Mount student is now the premier of Nova Scotia, or a Mount student is, and these positions that they might hold in society. And then you can say, I advise that person.
Or even that a Mount student is, has accomplished what they said it would accomplish, whether it's a visible public position or they feel really happy in their life and fulfilled. And yeah, that's really awesome.
Seeing them graduate is like one of my kids. I'm super proud of that accomplishment for them.
There are so many reasons to be in, for me to be in this role. And yes, when a student graduates, I can see that joy on their face many a times. I can see that joy of accomplishment. And I gotta say to the students or the listeners as well that we've gone down that road. We totally understand how hard university life can be. We understand how hard an academic advisor or a black student advisor or an international student advisor, wherever you go for advising, we understand how difficult it could be to even decide how to create your questions when you approach these folks. But what we want to let you know today is that, look, we're humans. You heard all the laughs we've had here, and we didn't present only these beautiful, nice, cushy, mushy stuff. We talked about the good and the bad, the ugly, and everything in between, just to let you know that we have laughs, we have tears in here once in a while. Right now I'm crying with laughter. But in the end, I just want you to know that the Mount has some very qualified advisors, and we are very passionate about our work. I'm going to stop using that word very. We're extremely passionate about our work. And we want to help students to do really well in whatever it is that they do. I'm not going to have the last word.
Well, I will. In closing off the podcast, I just want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your extremely busy schedules to just sit around and have a chat for a little bit about what you do, why you do it, and why you come back every day.
Thank you.
Thank you.